Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Guess what today is?
It's Wilbon Day.
Woo-woo!
Chicago native Michael Wilbon, host of Pardon the Interruption with Waddle and Silvy on ESPN Chicago.
Normally today, 5 o'clock, right on cue. Brought to you by Waddle's guys over at Hawk.
That's right, HawkAuto.com. Ford, Chevy, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Subaru, Cadillac, Mazda, and VW. All in one place, HawkAuto.com, where Chicagoland saves big.
Michael, we had 2 Game 7s, and your thoughts of both games were what?
Thrilling, exhilarating, both of them. Neither one had the result that I expected. I would not have picked 2 road teams. I would not have, and we should have had 3. Oklahoma City should have been playing Game 7 against Dallas and OKC. But, there's no way in the world I thought that Denver would lose Game 7 to Minnesota after the way they came back. Now, that Game 6 was telling, as it turns out. Should have paid more attention. And the Knicks just ran out of people. I mean, you're not going to win anything if you don't have. They're missing 4 starters, and then Jalen Brunson fractured his hand. So, some of that, so much of the postseason so far in the NBA has been attrition. I mean, you look at Milwaukee, you look at Miami, Milwaukee with no Giannis, Miami with no Jimmy Butler, Philly, it's like a Cleveland. I mean, all of the stars have been out of this. Even Boston, which may still be the best team left, has had no Porzingis for, half the time. So I hate that has been a large characteristic and a definer of the postseason. But Minnesota, wow. Cannot get over what they did. And that goes against, we've been talking every week about where you can get a player. Anthony Edwards is an old-fashioned overall number one pick, and he is something else.
Speaking of that game, Mike, I mean, that game is the defending champs. They're in their building, and they had a 20-point lead at one point in that game. When you get done with watching that game, is your first thought, wow, the Nuggets blew that game? They choked that game away, or that the T-Wolves took it from them?
T-Wolves took it. Even though on a night where Anthony Edwards is 6 for 24, they still took it. He took it. And that's the greatness of a player, is being able to impact the game even on a night where you're not scoring 40. And that kid's amazing. I mean, he had a couple of just straight-up thefts of Jamal Murray at midcourt and one of Joker, and went the other way. So even on a night where he doesn't have it going in a way that people always just think of now, which is offense, he can, and that more than inspires his team, it demands that his team pay attention. I think they're scared of him. And I mean that in the most complimentary way. I think the T-Wolves players, that's where the comparison with Jordan and Kobe really resonates with me. And that is, he is so charismatic. He's so forceful. He plays with such a rage. Although it was different maybe a little bit than Michael and Kobe, is he has a smile at several points during the game, and they didn't have that many. But wow, if people who haven't watched him need to watch him, and people haven't, they haven't watched Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. There's a whole new generation of players. LeBron, Steph Curry, KD, they're at home. Don't miss them. Love them. Don't miss them. Because you've got a whole new generation of players. There's just in the playoffs right now remaining. You've got Halliburton, who we've talked about several times because the Bulls didn't take him. You've got Anthony Edwards. You've got Luka. You've got Tatum and Brown. You've got players 25 and under who own the league right now. And so, you wave goodbye to your great, great, great stars of forever, LeBron and Steph. Not that they're going anywhere right now, but they got company. They got lots of company taking over the league.
Mike, have you had an opportunity to talk to MJ about the recent comparisons of Anthony Edwards to him and how so you have talked to him about it?
I can't get into that. I will just tell you that comparison is fine with him.
Okay. And a comparison to another player may not sit as well with him as this one does.
That's right. He never goes for that. Never. Right. Never. I mean, let me be a dunk. There are people that he's very fond of, like, say, Vince Carter, who did some things physical things like Jordan, but you would never hear Michael compare Vince Carter to him. This he's fine with this.
Okay.
he's fine with it. And again, it's demeanor, it's leadership, it's charisma. You got to see that clip where Anthony Edwards takes on Karl Anthony Towns at a press conference, telling him not to foul so much? That was vintage Michael Jordan, vintage. And so it's those things that, and I think the people, I said it on air. I'm not going to be disingenuous. Obviously, I have to talk to him. I thought he was going to, give it to me a little bit for making a comparison. But no. And it just shows how many people have fallen in love with Anthony Edwards. His play, his style, his charisma, his ability to lead. As much as anybody of those players I'm talking about, I think he can be, as much as any of them, if not more than most of them, a new face, if not the face of the NBA.
Is Michael aware that people on the internet are making comparisons to that they look a little alike?
I don't know. I don't get into internet stuff. I don't pay attention. I'm too old, and he's older than me when it comes to that.
Okay.
We don't pay attention. I can speak for him. He ain't paying no attention to that.
Did you notice? Did you notice this? That when Barkley talked to Anthony Edwards after the game, let me play it for you. I'm sure you heard this.
I did not hear this.
I have not been to.
All right, so let me play this. This is Anthony Edwards being interviewed by Barkley, and Barkley telling him, because I know you guys, I believe, are going to Boston and Indy, correct?
Yes.
All right, so they're going obviously to Minnesota and Dallas.
They're going to Minnesota and Dallas.
Yeah. So listen to this.
Okay, I have not been to Minnesota in probably 20 years. Bring your ass.
So
That's so great. That's what I mean. It's authentic.
authentic.
There's a real lack of authentic charisma because people are so busy, tooting their own horns. So I went over to see him one night. And by the way, we're not going to Boston and Indy. We do have that series. We're staying here in the LA studio, which will be pretty apparent in a couple of hours. I went over when they were here in LA to see Anthony Edwards, just like listen to him, meet him, say hello, shake his hand, look him in the face. I wanted to see what his deal was. And that was the night after he had fallen from that tremendous height where his head was on the glass, and he falls after blocking a shot. And I just said, did they try to talk you out of playing? He goes, of course. And he said, I fell. I said, you crashed. You could have broken something. He goes, come on, dude. I'm young. And it was so, like, some people might have said that and it would have come across as just so cocky and arrogant. It doesn't. It just comes across as, I can't wait to get more of this kid. And, you can't affect that. You have it or you don't. And it just comes across whether it's the television screen. And I sat there and I just chatted with him for a few minutes. Look, if you go back and look at the tabulation, he has one second-place vote for MVP. One from me.
Oh, wow.
I'm the only one. So all these people can claim what they saw. They didn't act on it. I did.
It's interesting. And then I don't know if either of you saw this. I don't know, Waddle, if you, because Michael didn't hear it. But, Minnesota tourism took advantage of this. I saw this on Front Office Sports. They took out, it was Explore Minnesota, their tourism website. They took out the domain bringyass.com. And if you could type in that now, it goes right to the Explore Minnesota website.
That's fantastic.
And traffic has now doubled. They're embracing this.
You think, so who's the last player in Minnesota to be as popular as this kid, Kevin Garnett?
Yeah, I think so.
No doubt.
So, that's a long time.
Are we going Justin Jefferson, though, for football? Are you talking about basketball?
We don't know what Justin Jefferson's voice sounds like. We don't know whether he would say that or steal that, or we don't know that. And that's part of that's basketball versus football. We don't know that.
Adrian Peterson?
No, it's football. If Adrian Peterson walked in my house, I'm not sure I would know it was Adrian Peterson.
Kevin Garnett's a bigger personality.
Kevin Garnett.
That's a good
You can
call.
see him. You know his face. You know what Kevin Garnett looks like instantly. And I was going to say back to Kirby Puckett, but it would be Kevin Garnett.
Hey, Mike, can we switch to the Eastern Conference as well? And there's been a lot of talk about Tom Thibodeau and how things unfolded, and that he gets the most out of his players, but does he also wear them down more than other?
Yeah.
Where are you at on this whole conversation?
More than one thing can be true.
Right.
Yes.
More than one thing is true. Look, I know Luol Deng and Joakim Noah and Derrick Rose and Taj Gibson and Carlos Boozer. These are not people I sort of know. I know them. I've talked to them. And, you know, you hear players talking about how they would run through a wall for Tibbs, and he let you. And after they ran through the wall, he put you back out there for 20 more minutes. And so these more than one thing can be true. I know from listening talking to Jalen Brunson, I know that he and DiVincenzo and Josh Hart love playing for Tibbs. I'm not asking. They love it. He will wear them out too. And could any coach have gotten as much out of these Knicks as Tibbs did? Not in today's NBA. But do you need to play Josh Hart 48 minutes? I don't know. Like, how much of Tibbs' philosophy led to those guys going out? Anunoby's hamstring is Anunoby's hamstring. I'm not blaming Tibbs for that. I'm not going to blame Tibbs for Julius Randle's shoulder. Because I'm going to tell you something. I think if the Knicks were whole, they'd beat Boston. I do. I believe if they had Randle, Josh Hart, obviously Jalen Brunson, Anunoby, one of those bigs whole, they'd beat Boston. I just think they played that hard. They have that kind of charisma, that kind of chemistry, that kind of fundamental. They remind me of those Bulls teams that sadly, those teams wore out. That's what happened. And so how do you assess Tibbs? What do you do going forward? I mean, is there a contract extension either in the works or already out there?
Right.
So I don't know. Will he be able to tweak what he does even moderately? I don't know. And
that's all I've asked. I was on with Greeny today, and the thing that I've been asking Tibbs to do is what players do. We always ask players in the offseason, Michael, to go into the gym and to work out their weaknesses.
Great point, Silvy.
And LeBron, what has LeBron done for 20 years? He fine-tunes his game. And people have criticized LeBron. Hey, he's got to get better in this. But he's yet the best player in the NBA. But LeBron, you've got to get better. LeBron's won championships. Tibbs has not. But yet it's okay to say that LeBron still has to work on this part of his game. Why can't we say, hey, Tom, yes, you make your team, you make your players better, but you as a coach still have to get better in this capacity.
You're saying it. What do you mean why we can't say it? You just said it. And you just said it, and I'm going to second it. Again, the roster of guys I mentioned, all those guys have been hurt.
Yes.
And their careers ended earlier than I'm not going to say Derek's ended earlier, but the meteoric part of his career obviously ended earlier. Yes. Now, is he going to do it? Is anybody going to ask him to do it or fire him?
No,
I don't know.
You shouldn't. You're worse off without Tibbs. The Bulls, I still wish Tibbs was coaching the Bulls.
It didn't. I remember when I'm sure I referred to this. I remember when my brother Don was screaming to get Derrick Rose out of that game against Philly in the first round.
I know.
And I didn't think he needed to come out of the game then. But the other night they were down 20 and Josh Hart was still in the game.
Right. And Brunson. Yeah, Brunson.
And Brunson, wow. What a player, what a person. I know his mom and dad pretty well. And he's just a great kid. God, I wish he was a Bull. I really wish he was a Bull. And I know that other Chicago great players love Brunson. I mean, I've talked to Eddie Johnson and Isaiah Thomas. All the Chicago guys, they love Brunson. They talk about Brunson. They text about Brunson. And man, you talk about how the years would change if we had him.
And this Celtics-Pacers matchup really doesn't have a ton of juice. Does this one last long, in your opinion?
You know what? Tommy, I've been saying it's a 5-game series, but Kendrick Perkins makes a very compelling case if you guys want to switch on to the re-airing of PTI, that it's a 7-game series that he has Boston winning, but a 7-game series. And look, here's what Indiana's got. They got a great young player in Tyrese Halliburton. They got a great coach in Rick Carlisle, who's already won a championship. We can talk about Tibbs all we want. Tibbs hasn't won a championship. He hasn't. Rick Carlisle, whose career I covered as a player, both at the University of Virginia and then when he was a Celtic, Rick Carlisle won a championship with the Dallas Mavericks as head coach. So let's see. I want to see what this first half looks like tonight before I get all crazy. But I would love for this to be a long, involved, dramatic series. That would be fun.
Is there a problem with the league not having teams competing for back-to-back championships, Mike? This has been a conversation, I think, in recent days.
No. And I just find that conversation, I'm glad you asked about that, Tommy. That conversation doesn't acknowledge, because this is the problem when you guys know I get crazy about analytics. Because all the people in sports, mostly what they do is just analyzing numbers. They don't think about impact and storylines and people and histories and legacy. They don't, because they really can't, because they're handicapped by the numbers. Tyranny of numbers does that. But what they're not looking at is there are more great players in the NBA today, I believe, than ever. So the last transition we had like this was the Dream Team. When the Dream Team came along, and those guys were, yes, they were veterans, but earlier in their careers, and just like 4 years earlier, when they knocked out Julius Erving and Moses Malone and, George Gervin and that whole generation of players, that was a sea change. Was the game, not well off? So you mean to tell me watching Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I got to have one player win multiple times? I can't enjoy watching Shai Gilgeous-Alexander play against Luka Doncic? What? People are morons to suggest that. And I can't enjoy watching Tyrese Halliburton go against Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown? What? There's so many great players. So enjoy them. People, they think it's okay for the NFL to have so many great players that there's a certain level of parity. So basketball has that now. And by the way, we haven't even talked about Wembanyama in the mix. Wembanyama's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what about these 2 new kids who are going to Duke next year? What about them? They're coming.
Cooper
What
Flag.
about – yes. And, I was talking to a dear friend who's involved with NBA Africa, who is in the process of helping coach and develop prospects all over the globe. But right now, specifically in Africa, there's so many prospects, kids who are ready to come. They're going to play college basketball first, and they're ready to roll. And they're 6'8", 6'9", 6'10" wings who are wondrous. They're coming. And people who travel and scout know this. These kids coming from France at the top of this draft, people know there's not a surprise coming. So I need to have somebody win 4 in a row to validate somebody's stupid-ass analytic. Stop, please.
I want to ask you about the Cubs really quick. You probably haven't seen the news because you've been in the NBA bunker, but the Cubs have taken Kyle Hendricks out of the rotation. They're going to use him in the bullpen. He's got a 10.5 ERA. But, is he better served in the bullpen, or are they better off just DFAing
They got the starters.
him?
They got the starters. Let's see. We need help. We need help in the bullpen. Better bullpen help, and they'd be 10 over 500 instead of 4 or 5. So let's see. But you can see. You got time.
Can
He's
he
on a
help?
contract.
But with a 10.5
I don't know.
ERA, can
Find
he
out.
help?
Are you afraid to find out?
I'm
You want
afraid he
Tibbs to
can't
get
pitch
better?
anymore. I'm afraid he can't pitch anymore. That's what I'm afraid of.
Then if he can't pitch, then get rid of him. Find out. He's on your roster. Find out. You're paying him. Find out. If he can't do it, suppose he can. Dennis Eckersley did it. He made a transition.
This ain't
From
no
a
act.
what?
Wouldn't that be
How
the
do you know
story
that?
of the 2024
Oh, get
Major
outta
League
here.
Baseball season if Kyle Hendricks turns into a lockdown closer?
Not even a lockdown closer. He could be a middle reliever. With the way bullpens are now, bullpens didn't operate this way when Eck was playing. They went straight from a starter to a closer. There were some bridge guys, but they weren't all that important. Now you got to have middle relievers. So let's find out.
Okay.
It's May. Find out.
That's a good. You know what? That's a good tagline.
Let's
it's
find
May.
out.
Let's find out.
Let's find out.
Yeah.
It's not as good as Bring Your Ass, though. It's not as
No,
good as that.
it's close.
It's one of the best lines in a long time. He's so great.
Isn't that great?
It is. Really
Bring your ass.
It's good. Michael, have a great broadcast, and we'll be watching you.
Thanks,
all right?
Mike.
All right, yeah, let's see what happens with this game tonight, and then I'm waiting to see. Perkins got me all crazed, thinking something dramatic can happen. 'Cause look, Kendrick Perkins picked Minnesota to beat Denver straight up in 7 games, straight up. So I'm like, Perk, you're scaring me. So let's see what happens tonight, and look forward to talking to you guys next week.
Awesome.
You got it.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Mike.
Michael.
All right, be good.
There he is, Michael Wilbon. It's different to pick the T-Wolves who have so many talented guys. Like, you heard the way Denver talked about after losing to them, all the all-stars that they have on that team.
Yeah.
Indiana's not that.
Listen. I don't think Indiana gets past the Knicks if the Knicks have some health at all. So I'd be very surprised if they give Boston. Again, Boston has advanced in consecutive series by losing 1 game in each of those series, and maybe they just got disinterested at some point.
Thanks to Mel.